Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Today, inshallah, we will start a new series of lectures of head and neck. The first lecture is osteology of head and neck. The osteology of head and neck consists of the skull, the middle ear ossicles, the hyoid bone, and the cervical vertebra. See here in this diagram, you can see the skeleton of head and neck includes the skull. This is skull. Then there are the middle ear ossicles which are present inside the ear. Then this is the hyoid bone, and there are 7 cervical vertebra which are C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6 and C7. First of all, we will discuss the skull. The anatomical position of the skull is such that the lower margins of the orbits and the upper margin of the external auditory meatus, they lie in the same horizontal plane. This is called as orbitomeatal plane because orbito is the lower margin of the orbit and the meatal is the upper margin of the meatus. So this consists of orbitomeatal plane. It is also called as Frankfurt plane. This corresponds closely with the natural horizontal cranial plane. First of all, we will discuss the norma verticalis. See here in this diagram, this is norma verticalis or the superior view of the skull. Okay, we will discuss each norma or each view one by one. First of all, the norma verticalis. Here you can see some immobile joints. These are called as sutures. The skull is composed of several separate bones which are united at immobile joints which are called as sutures. The connective tissue between the bones, they form the sutural ligaments. The mandible is an exception to this rule as it is united to the skull by a mobile joint which is synovial joint, temporomandibular joint. The bones of the skull, they are organized in the cranial skeleton. This is called as cranial skeleton that surrounds the brain, and there is the facial skeleton which is forming the face of the skeleton. The cranial cavity is a space which is containing the brain. The skull vault, which is also called as brain case or the calvarium, is the upper part of the cranium. See here, this is the skull vault. It is the upper part of the cranium and it is forming the roof and the side walls of the cranial cavity. See here, it is forming the roof and the side wall of the cranial cavity. The base of the skull is the lowest part of the cranium and it forms the floor of the cranial cavity. This is the floor of the cranial cavity. See here in this diagram, this is norma frontalis. You can see here the anterior aspect of the skull, the all bones which are forming the skull cap and the facial skeleton. First of all, the vault of the skull. The relatively flat bones of the vault, they consist of the parietal bones, the frontal bone, and the part of the occipital bone. They are composed of external and internal tables of the compact bone. They are separated by a layer of the spongy bone called as diploe. See here in this diagram, you can see here the layers of the skull or layers of the scalp. These are the layers of the scalp. First of all, there is the skin. See here, this is the skin. Then there is the connective tissue. Then there is the epicranial aponeurosis. Below the epicranial aponeurosis, there is the loose connective tissue. Okay, and then there is the pericranium. See here, this is the pericranium or the periosteum, which is the compact bone. This is compact bone. Again there will be bone. This is another layer or the inner layer of the bone or the endosteal layer of the dura mater. Okay, and in between the periosteum and the outer table of the parietal bone, there will be spongy bone. See here, this is the spongy bone which is present here, which is called as diploe. This is diploe. There are 2 layers of the compact bone and inside the compact bone there is diploe. Okay, so you can see here, this is the outer table of the parietal bone and this is the inner table of the parietal bone, and inside the outer and the inner table there is the spongy bone which is called as diploe. Outside the outer table of the parietal bone there is pericranium, and inside to the inner table of the parietal bone the dura mater will start. First of all, there will be endosteal layer and then there is the meningeal layer of the dura mater. Okay, so this is scalp, SCALP. Scalp means skin, connective tissue, A for aponeurosis, L for loose connective tissue, and P for pericranium. So these are the 5 layers of the scalp, but you have to notice here that there are 2 bones which are separated by a spongy bone which is called as diploe. The internal table is very thinner and more brittle than the external table. The bones are covered with the periosteum, which is the last layer of the scalp on both the outer and the inner surfaces. The bones of the vault, they form via the membranous ossification, whereas the bones of the cranial base and the facial skeleton, they are formed by the endochondral ossification. See here in this diagram, these are the bones of the face, and in the bones of the floor of the cranial cavity or the base of the skull, they are formed by the endochondral ossification, whereas the bones of the skull vault, they are formed, or skull cap, they are formed by the membranous ossification. Here you can see the bones of the skull cap. This anterior bone is the frontal bone, this one is the parietal bone, and this posterior bone is called as the occipital bone. Frontal, parietal, and occipital bone. See here in this diagram, this is frontal bone, this one is parietal bone, and this is the part of the occipital bone which are forming the skull cap. Okay, on side we can see the temporal bone also. This is temporal bone. Okay, so frontal bone, parietal bone, occipital bone, and temporal bone. You can see here in the norma verticalis that this is frontal bone, these are 2 parietal bones, and this is occipital bone. Here you can see the parietal bone and the occipital bone. There are many sutures which are present here. This suture which is separating the frontal bone and the 2 parietal bones is called as coronal suture. This is coronal suture. Then the suture which is in between 2 parietal bones is called as sagittal suture. And the suture which is separating 2 parietal bones from the occipital bone is called as lambdoid suture. This is lambdoid suture. Okay, here there will be one point at which the coronal suture and the sagittal suture meet. This point is called as bregma. And the point where the sagittal suture meet the lambdoid suture, this point is called as lambda. The point of bregma shows the presence of the anterior fontanelle, and the point of lambda shows the presence of the posterior fontanelle. Now we will discuss that which bones are present in the cranium. First of all, the paired bones of the cranium. First of all, the cranium consists of following bones, 2 of which are paired. These are all bones which are forming the cranium, but out of these bones only 2 are paired, which are parietal bone. See here, this blue colored bone here, this is paired bone, this is parietal bone, and the temporal bone which is shown in orange color, this is also paired bone. Otherwise, the frontal bone, then the occipital bone, then the sphenoid bone, this is sphenoid bone, and ethmoid bone. These are single bones. Frontal is 1, there is 1 occipital bone, there is 1 sphenoid bone, and there is 1 ethmoid bone. Then we have to see the bones of the facial skeleton. The facial skeleton consists of the following bones, 2 of which are single. First of all, we have discussed the bones of the cranium, but out of all bones, 2 were paired. But here, 2 are single. See here, which bones are single? The vomer bone. Vomer will be inside the nasal cavity. This is vomer. This is a single bone. And there is 1 mandible, which is forming the lower jaw. This is mandible bone. These are single bone. Otherwise, there are many paired bones. For example, this is zygomatic bone or the cheekbone. These are 2 cheekbones. Okay, then there is the maxilla on right side and the maxilla on left side. Then there are 2 nasal bones. See here, this is nasal bone on the right side and the nasal bone on the left side. Then there are the lacrimal bone. See here, this is lacrimal bone on the right side and the lacrimal bone on the left side. Then there are 2 palatine bones which will be forming the palate. Okay, palatine bones will form the palate. And there are inferior concave. See here, these are 2 inferior concave which are present in the nose. They are also paired bones. Okay, so zygomatic bone, number 1, then maxilla, then nasal bone, then lacrimal bone, then palatine bone, and inferior nasal concave, they are paired bones. Whereas the vomer and the mandible, they are the single bones which are present in the facial skeleton. Now we will see the anterior view or the norma frontalis. See here, we have discussed the norma verticalis. Now we will see the norma frontalis. The frontal bone or the forehead bone. See here, this is the frontal bone or the forehead bone. It curves downward to make the upper margin of the orbits. The superciliary arches are on either side. You can see here in this diagram, I am showing you the superciliary arches. They are present on the upper margin of the orbit. Okay, and there is the supraorbital notch. You can see here, this is the supraorbital notch which is having the supraorbital foramen. It is at or near the orbital rim. Medially, the frontal bone articulate with the frontal process of the maxilla. This is the frontal process of the maxilla. So medially, the frontal bone articulate with the frontal process of the maxilla and with the nasal bone. Laterally, the frontal bone articulate with the zygomatic bone. See here, medially there is maxilla and laterally there is zygomatic bone. So frontal bone articulate medially with the frontal process of the maxilla and laterally with the frontal process of the zygomatic bone. Now we will see the orbital margins. This is the diagram of the orbit. Okay. The orbital margins are bounded by the frontal bone superiorly. This is frontal bone superiorly. Then we have the zygomatic bone laterally. This is zygomatic bone. Then we have maxilla inferiorly. This is maxilla bone and the processes of maxilla and the frontal bone medially. See here, this is the frontal process of the maxilla and this is the frontal bone which is forming the medial margin of the orbit. Okay, this is the medial margin of the orbit. This is the superior margin of the orbit. This is the lateral margin and this is the inferior margin. Okay, so superiorly you can see the frontal bone, laterally you can see the zygomatic bone, inferiorly you can see the part of the zygomatic bone and the maxilla, and medially you can see the frontal process of the maxilla articulating with the frontal bone. Now the frontal air sinuses. The frontal bone contains two hollow spaces which are lined with the mucous membrane. They are called as frontal air sinuses. They are just above the orbital margins. These sinuses communicate with the nose and serve to lighten the facial skeleton and act as a voice resonators. Now we will discuss the nasal bone. See here in this diagram that this is nasal bone. It is forming the bridge of the nose. Okay, there are two nasal bones. They are forming the bridge of the nose. Their lower borders with the maxilla make the anterior nasal aperture. This is one opening which is called as anterior nasal aperture, which the nasal bone formed along with the maxilla. The nasal cavity is divided into two by a bony nasal septum. Okay, which is largely formed by the vomer bone. The nasal septum is formed by the vomer bone and also by the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone. Okay, the vomer and the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone will form the nasal septum. The superior and the middle concave, they are the shelves of the bones that project into the nasal cavity from the ethmoid bone on each side. Okay, so the superior and the middle concave, they are coming outside from the ethmoid bone, whereas the inferior concave, they are the separate bones. So there are three types of concave which are present in the nasal cavity: superior concave, then middle nasal concave, and then inferior nasal concave. Superior and middle nasal concave, they are the parts of the ethmoid bone. They are not separate bones, but the inferior concave, it is a separate bone. See here, this is maxilla. Okay, you can see the diagram of the maxilla. The two maxilla, they form the upper jaw, the anterior part of the hard palate. See here, it is forming the anterior part of the hard palate. It is forming the part of the lateral wall of the nasal cavity and part of floor of the orbital cavity. See here, it is forming the lateral part of the nasal cavity, the floor of the orbital cavity, the upper jaw, and the anterior part of the hard palate. So all these parts are formed by the maxilla. The two maxilla, they meet in the midline at the intermaxillary suture. See here, this is intermaxillary suture and they form the lower margin of the nasal aperture. Then there is the infraorbital foramen. You can see here, this is infraorbital foramen. It perforates the maxilla below the orbit. The alveolar processes, this is the alveolar process of the maxilla. It projects downwards and together with the fellow of the opposite side form the alveolar arch. This is the alveolar arch which carries the upper teeth. This is alveolar arch. Each maxilla contain a large pyramid-shaped cavity lined with the mucous membrane, and they are called as maxillary sinuses. This communicate with the nasal cavity and serve to lighten the facial skeleton and act as a voice resonator. The function of the sinus, whether it is a frontal sinus or a maxillary sinus, the function is to lighten the facial skeleton and they act as a voice resonator. Now we will discuss the zygomatic bone or the cheekbone. The zygomatic bone forms the prominence of the cheek and the part of the lateral wall and the floor of the orbital cavity. You can see here it is forming the lateral wall and the floor of the orbital cavity. Medially it articulates with the maxilla and laterally it articulates with the zygomatic process of the temporal bone. See here, there is the zygomatic process of the temporal bone which is articulating laterally with the zygomatic bone. Okay, and this will form the zygomatic arch. How zygomatic arch is formed? Zygomatic arch is formed by the zygomatic bone and the zygomatic process of the temporal bone. The zygomatic bone is perforated by two types of the foramina which are named as zygomaticofacial foramina and zygomaticofacial foramina and the zygomaticotemporal foramina, and these are the nerves which are crossing through the zygomaticofacial and zygomaticotemporal foramina. These are zygomaticofacial nerve and the zygomaticotemporal nerve. Now the mandible. The mandible or the lower jaw, it consists of a horizontal body and there are two vertical rami. This is one ramus and this is another ramus which are on each side of the body. This is lower jaw. Now we will see the norma lateralis. See here, this is norma lateralis. Here the frontal bone forms the anterior part of the side of the skull and articulates with the parietal bone at the coronal suture. This is the coronal suture. The parietal bones form the sides and the roof of the cranium and articulate with each other in the midline at the sagittal suture. Here there will be sagittal suture. They articulate with the occipital bone behind at the lambdoid suture. This is lambdoid suture. You can see here the frontal bone, the parietal bone, the occipital bone. This is coronal suture. In the middle there will be sagittal suture and behind there is lambdoid suture. This is temporal bone. See here, this is temporal bone which is also visible in the lateral view. And here there is one area which is called as sternion where the four bones unite together. This is frontal bone, parietal bone, temporal bone and the greater wing of the sphenoid or the sphenoid bone. This is the area where four sutures unite with one another and this area is called as sternion. The squamous part of the occipital bone is one bone, then the part of the temporal bone. See here, this is the squamous part of the temporal bone, then there is the tympanic part of the temporal bone, this is tympanic part of the temporal bone, this is mastoid part of the temporal bone, this is the styloid process and there is the zygomatic process. See here, 5 parts of the temporal bone which are shown in green color. What are their parts? See here, this is the squamous part of the temporal bone, this is the tympanic part of the temporal bone, then there is the mastoid process or the mastoid part of the temporal bone, this is styloid process and this is the zygomatic process of the temporal bone. This temporal bone, then the part of the parietal bone and the squamous part of the occipital bone and the greater wing of the sphenoid. You can see here the greater wing of the sphenoid bone, they complete the skull at the side. These are the bones which are present in the norma lateralis and you can see that they are completing the side of the skull. Note the position of the external auditory meatus and the ramus. This is one ramus and the body of the mandible, they lie inferiorly. So these are the bones which are present on the lateral side. What are they? Number 1, frontal bone, then parietal bone, then squamous part of the occipital bone, greater wing of sphenoid, then this is the squamous part of the temporal bone, external auditory meatus, zygomatic process of the temporal bone, mastoid process, styloid process, the ramus of the mandible and the body of the mandible. These are the bones which are present in the norma lateralis. Now, what is pterion? As I have already told you, there is the thinnest part of the lateral wall of the skull where the anterior inferior corner of the parietal bone articulate with the greater wing of the sphenoid. This point is called as pterion. Clinically, the pterion is an important area because it overlies the anterior division of the middle meningeal artery and vein. Here, the middle meningeal artery, its anterior division, and the middle meningeal vein, they run in the area of the pterion. Now see here, laterally we can see two fossa which are temporal fossa. This is temporal fossa, and here there will be infratemporal fossa. Identify the lines which are superior temporal lines, and there will be inferior temporal line just below it, which begin as a single line from the posterior margin of the zygomatic process of the frontal bone. See here, this is the zygomatic process of the frontal bone. Here they start, okay, and diverge as they arch backward. They will diverge when they will arching backward. The temporal fossa lies below the inferior temporal line. This area or this fossa or this space is called as temporal fossa, and then below it there will be infratemporal fossa. There is infratemporal fossa below the temporal fossa, and there is pterygopalatine fossa. See here, when I am showing you cursor, this is pterygopalatine fossa. The infratemporal fossa lie below the infratemporal crest. See here, there will be infratemporal crest here on the greater wing of the sphenoid. This is the greater wing of the sphenoid, and here there will be infratemporal crest. This is infratemporal crest, okay, and below the infratemporal crest there will be infratemporal fossa. Then there is pterygomaxillary fissure. Can you see here this fissure? This is pterygomaxillary fissure because it is in between the pterygoid process or the pterygoid plate and the maxilla. It is a vertical opening that lies within the fossa between the pterygoid process of the sphenoid bone and the back of the maxilla. This is the back of the maxilla, and this is the lateral plate or the lateral pterygoid plate. So this is a fissure which is pterygomaxillary fissure, and when we enter this pterygomaxillary fissure, there will be pterygopalatine fossa inside. Pterygopalatine fossa. It leads medially into pterygopalatine fossa. Then you can see the inferior orbital fissure. Can you see the inferior orbital fissure here? When you see inside the orbit, you can see three structures. One opening which is called as optic canal, okay, it is present medially. Then there are two fissures. One is superior, which is called as superior orbital fissure, and one is inferior, which is called as inferior orbital fissure. This inferior orbital fissure is a horizontal opening between the greater wing of the sphenoid and the maxilla. See here, it is in between the greater wing of the sphenoid bone and the maxilla bone. It leads forward into orbit. Now there is pterygopalatine fossa, which is a small space below and behind the orbital cavity. It communicates laterally. See here, this pterygopalatine fossa communicates laterally with the infratemporal fossa. If you imagine that there is infratemporal fossa laterally, so the pterygopalatine will communicate with the infratemporal fossa through this pterygomaxillary fissure. Okay, medially it communicates with the nasal cavity through the sphenopalatine foramen. Remember this thing, that the pterygomaxillary fossa, it communicate anteriorly, it communicates medially, it communicates laterally, okay, and it communicates anteriorly and superiorly also. So all these communications will have some openings. The pterygopalatine fossa is in middle. It is communicating laterally with infratemporal fossa through the pterygomaxillary fissure. It is communicating medially with the nasal cavity through the sphenopalatine foramen. See here, this green colored foramen is the sphenopalatine foramen. Then it is communicating superiorly with the cranial cavity, because here the foramen rotundum is present. Okay, the foramen rotundum will be communicating the pterygopalatine fossa with the cranial cavity, and it is communicating with the anteriorly with the orbital cavity through the inferior orbital fissure. Okay, there will be inferior orbital fissure which will communicate this pterygopalatine fossa with anteriorly with the orbital cavity. Now we will discuss the posterior view or the norma occipitalis, the posterior parts of two parietal bones with the intervening sagittal suture. They are located superiorly. Inferiorly, the parietal bones articulate with the squamous part of the occipital bone at the lambdoid suture. The occipital bone articulate with the temporal bone on each side. This is temporal bone. A roughened elevation. Can you see here a roughened elevation? Okay, it is forming the external occipital protuberance. It lies in the midline of the occipital bone and give attachment to the muscles and the ligamentum nuchae. The superior nuchal lines, see here, these are the superior nuchal lines, extend laterally toward the temporal bone on either side of the protuberance. This is the external occipital protuberance, and from the protuberance two lines will come. They are the superior nuchal lines. See here, anteriorly the frontal bone articulate with the two parietal bones at the coronal suture. This is coronal suture. Occasionally this frontal bone is also divided into two bones, and sometimes they fail to fuse, leaving a midline metopic suture. Here a suture can be there, or in infants it can be present, which is called as metopic suture. Posteriorly the two parietal bones, they articulate in the midline at the sagittal suture, and then there will be lambdoid suture posteriorly. Now we will discuss the inferior view, or the norma basalis. The anterior inferior part, see here, this is the anterior inferior part of the skull, is formed by the hard palate. This is hard palate. This is composed of palatal processes of the maxilla. These are the palatal processes of the maxilla, and these two bones are the perpendicular plates of the palatine bone, or the horizontal plates of the palatine bone. See here, these are the palatal process of the maxilla, okay, palatal process, and these are the palatine bone, okay, the horizontal plates of the palatine bone. The incisive foramen is in the anterior midline. Can you see here, this is the incisive foramen or the incisive fossa, okay, it is present in the midline, and there are greater and lesser palatine foramina which are lie posterolaterally. See here, there will be greater palatine foramina and the lesser palatine foramina which are present posterolaterally. See here in this diagram, this is palatal process of the maxilla, and these are the palatal processes of the palatine bone, or the horizontal plates of the palatine bone. They are forming the hard palate. Then there are the posterior nasal apertures. As we have the anterior nasal apertures, there are posterior nasal apertures also, which are above the posterior edge of the hard palate. They are above the posterior edge of the hard palate. These are separated from each other from the posterior margin of the vomer. As I have already told you that the vomer is the bone of the nasal septum, and they are bounded laterally. You can see here, they are bounded laterally by the medial pterygoid plate of the sphenoid bone. This is the medial pterygoid plate of the sphenoid bone. This is also the medial pterygoid plate of the sphenoid bone. The inferior end of the medial pterygoid plate is prolonged, and they form a curved spike which is called as pterygoid hamulus. Okay, this is pterygoid hamulus on each side. Number one, these are posterior nasal apertures which are separated by the vomer. Vomer is communicated laterally with the medial pterygoid plate. Medial pterygoid plate is projected inferiorly, and they will form a pterygoid hamulus. Now you can see the bone of the sphenoid. This is sphenoid bone, okay? Sphenoid bone. It will have many parts. The midline part is called as the body of the sphenoid bone. Then you can see the green colored lesser wings of the sphenoid bone, and the red colored the greater wings of the sphenoid bone. Here you can see the pterygoid process of the sphenoid bone, which will have the medial plate of the sphenoid and the lateral plate of the sphenoid bone. The medial plate is projected inferiorly to form the pterygoid hamulus. Okay, there are many foramina which are present in the sphenoid bone. First of all, you can see the foramen ovale and the foramen rotundum and the foramen spinosum. See here, first of all, foramen ovale, which is the oval foramen, and the foramen spinosum, which is over the spine of the sphenoid. Because this is the spine of sphenoid, they are piercing the greater wing of the sphenoid, and they are posterolateral to the lateral pterygoid plate. This is lateral pterygoid plate, and these foramina are lateral to the lateral pterygoid plate. Then the spine of sphenoid is posterolateral to the foramen spinosum. That's why it is named as spinosum, because it is over the spine of the sphenoid. See here in this diagram, you can see the auditory canal or auditory tube. It is a groove for the cartilaginous part of the auditory tube that lie behind the spine of sphenoid. See here, here there will be spine of sphenoid, and posterior lateral to the spine of sphenoid, there will be auditory tube canal. Okay, in the interval between the greater wing of the sphenoid and the petrous part of the temporal bone. See here, this is the petrous part of the temporal bone, this one, and this is the greater wing of the sphenoid. In between the greater wing and the petrous part of the temporal bone, there will be groove for the auditory canal, auditory tube. This groove leads into opening of the bony part of the tube. Okay, so this is the auditory tube sulcus. Now you can see the mandibular fossa. Can you see here the mandibular fossa? Here also you can see the mandibular fossa of the temporal bone and the articular tubercle. See here, this is the mandibular fossa where the process of the mandible is articulating. Okay, and here this anterior to the mandibular fossa, there is articular tubercle. They are forming the upper articular surface of the temporomandibular joint. Here the temporal bone articulates with the mandible to form the temporomandibular joint, and temporomandibular joint is formed by the mandibular fossa and the articular tubercle. Now you can see the styloid process of the temporal bone. This is the styloid process of the temporal bone. It projects downwards and forwards from its inferior aspect. The opening of the carotid canal. Can we see near the styloid process or anterior to the styloid process, there is opening for the carotid canal, which is on the inferior surface of the petrous part of the temporal bone. See here, this is the petrous part of the temporal bone, and here there is the carotid canal through which the internal carotid artery will pass. Now you can see the foramen lacerum. See here in this diagram, in the middle cranial fossa, the medial end of the petrous part. This is the petrous part of the temporal bone. Its medial end is irregular. Okay, and together with the basilar part of the occipital bone. This is the basilar part of the occipital bone and the greater wing of the sphenoid bone. This is the greater wing of the sphenoid bone. It forms the foramen lacerum. During life, the foramen lacerum is mostly closed with the fibrous tissue, and only a small structure passes through this foramen from the cranial cavity to the exterior. So this foramen lacerum is called as lacerum because it has lacerated margins or cut margins. See here this diagram, this is the temporal bone. This is the squamous part of the temporal bone. This is the tympanic part of the temporal bone. This is the mastoid process. This is styloid process, and this is zygomatic process. Okay, so this is the temporal bone. The tympanic plate, you can see here the tympanic plate, it is a part of the temporal bone and it is C-shaped on section. When you will take a section, it will be C-shaped and it forms the bony part of the external auditory meatus. While examining this region, see here, this is the tympanic plate and this is the external auditory meatus. You can identify a supramastoid crest. Why it is called as supramastoid crest? Because it is over the mastoid process. So this is supramastoid crest on the lateral surface of the squamous part of the temporal bone, and there is one suprameatal triangle. Can you see here the suprameatal triangle? This is the suprameatal triangle and the supramastoid crest. Mastoid, supramastoid because it is over the mastoid process, and suprameatal because it is over the meatus. Suprameatal, above the external auditory meatus. Now you can see the stylomastoid foramen. Below the styloid process, you can see here the stylomastoid foramen because it is in between the styloid process and the mastoid process. It is called as stylomastoid foramen. Medial to the styloid process, the petrous part of the temporal bone has a deep notch. Can you see here the medial to the styloid process, there is one deep notch which is behind the carotid canal, and this deep notch is called as jugular foramen or jugular fossa because here the internal jugular vein will pass through it. Now you can see many foramina. We have discussed many foramina here. We have discussed jugular foramen, then there is internal acoustic meatus also, there is foramen ovale, foramen rotundum, there is superior orbital fissure, there is inferior orbital fissure, there is optic canal. This is the most important diagram which you have to learn. You have to learn all structures which are passing through these foramina. Now see here, the sphenoid, this is occipital bone. Can you see the occipital bone in the green color? Okay, we have discussed the temporal bone, we have discussed the maxilla, the zygomatic bone, but the norma bizalis will have a greater part of the occipital bone. So the sphenoid bone, and this is the basilar part of the occipital bone. They are behind the posterior nasal apertures and they are in front of the foramen magnum. There is a big foramen, the biggest foramen of our body, which is called as the foramen magnum. So anterior to the foramen magnum, there is the basilar part of the occipital bone. Okay, then there is a pharyngeal tubercle on the basilar part of the occipital bone. It is a small midline prominence on the undersurface of the basilar part of the occipital bone. Then there are two occipital condyles. Can you see here? These are the two occipital condyles, which are large rounded prominences on either side of the foramen magnum. They articulate with the superior aspect of the lateral mass of the first cervical vertebra, the atlas, and they will form the atlanto-occipital joint. Atlanto-occipital joint. Now you can see the jugular foramen here, and medial to the jugular foramen you can see the hypoglossal canal. This is hypoglossal canal here, which is for the transmission of the hypoglossal nerve, which is the 12th cranial nerve. It is anterior superior to the occipital condyle. When you will see the occipital condyle, for example, these are the occipital condyle, and anterior to it there will be hypoglossal canal. Then there is the external occipital protuberance, we have discussed before also, and from the external occipital protuberance the superior nuchal lines will start, and inferior to it there are inferior nuchal lines, and in between this is called as external occipital crest. This is the external occipital crest.